There was a page in Marcus Aurelius' private journal that almost no one talks about. A page where he wrote something so direct, so cutting, that it contradicts nearly everything modern self-help teaches us about fear. Historians found it. Philosophers debated it. But few dared to apply it. Because what Marcus wrote wasn't comforting. It wasn't gentle. It was a command. A rule designed to obliterate fear at its root. And once you understand it, you'll never see courage the same way again. This wasn't advice meant for crowds. It wasn't a speech delivered in the forum. It was a whisper from a dying emperor to himself, carved into wax by trembling hands in the dead of night. Picture this. Rome, 170 AD. The empire stretched from Britain to the deserts of Egypt. And at its center sat a man wrapped in purple, the most powerful ruler on earth. But Marcus Aurelius wasn't writing propaganda. He wasn't drafting speeches or war declarations. Late at night, by candlelight, he was writing to himself. These weren't lessons meant for the public. They were survival notes. Reminders. Weapons against his own mind. One passage stands out. Short. Brutal. Forbidden not because it was hidden, but because it demanded something most people refuse to give. The surrender of illusion. The abandonment of the comfortable lies we tell ourselves to sleep at night. If you're ready to hear what they never taught you in school, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell. Leave a like. Because what comes next isn't just philosophy. It's a mirror. And not everyone is ready to look into what reflects back. The Roman Empire was crumbling from within. Plague swept through the streets, leaving bodies stacked like firewood. Barbarian tribes hammered at the borders with increasing fury. Senators whispered betrayal in marble halls, their daggers hidden beneath togas. And Marcus Aurelius, philosopher king, sat alone with a stylus and wax tablet, trying to make sense of it all. He had no illusions. He knew he could die tomorrow. He knew his children might not survive him. He knew the empire itself was mortal, bleeding from 1,000 wounds. And yet, he ruled. He led armies into the frozen north. He made decisions that affected millions of lives. How? How does a man function under such weight? Most people think Stoicism is about staying calm. About controlling your emotions. About pretending nothing bothers you, wearing a mask of tranquility while chaos rages. But that's not what Marcus practiced. What he practiced was something darker. Something more honest. Something that required him to face the void without flinching. He didn't suppress fear. He walked straight into it, armed with a single rule. A rule so simple it sounds almost cruel. Deep in his meditations, Marcus wrote this. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But there's another line. One that gets skipped over. One that sits quietly in Book 2, waiting for someone brave enough to apply it. He said, strip away the legend that surrounds an event, and you see it as it is. Fear, he realized, isn't caused by the thing itself. It's caused by the story you tell about the thing. The judgment. The meaning you drape over it like a funeral shroud. And if you remove that story, the fear collapses. Not because you've become numb. Not because you've hardened your heart. But because you've seen through the illusion. You've recognized the phantom for what it is. Let's go deeper. Imagine you're afraid of losing your job. The Stoic question is not, how do I keep my job? It's, what exactly am I afraid of? You're not afraid of unemployment itself. You're afraid of what it means. Shame. Failure. Judgment from others. Loss of identity. The look in your parents' eyes when you tell them. The silence at dinner parties when people ask what you do. But strip those meanings away. What's left? A change in circumstances. An event. Something that happens and then you respond. That's it. No tragedy. No catastrophe. Just a thing that occurred. Marcus used this rule every single day. When generals brought him bad news from the front lines, reports of legions decimated, he didn't panic. He asked, "What is this, exactly?" When illness ravaged his body, when pain kept him awake through endless nights, he didn't curse the gods. He observed. He noted the sensations without adding drama to them. When his own son, Commodus, showed signs of cruelty and madness, when the boy he loved revealed the monster within, Marcus didn't collapse into despair. He accepted what was real and acted within what he could control. This is the forbidden part. The part that makes people uncomfortable. Because it means you can no longer blame your fear on the world. You can no longer say, "This situation is terrifying," as if terror exists in the situation itself. Terror exists in your interpretation. And interpretation is yours to shape. Marcus wasn't preaching positive thinking. He wasn't saying, "Just look on the bright side." He was saying, "See things as they are, not as your mind distorts them." And when you do, fear loses its teeth. It becomes toothless. Powerless. A shadow that cannot touch you. Now let's test this. Think of something you're afraid of right now. Maybe it's a conversation you're avoiding. Maybe it's a health issue lurking in the background. Maybe it's the future itself, that vast unknown stretching out before you like an ocean in the dark. Ask yourself, what is this thing, in itself? Not what it might lead to. Not what others will think. Not what it says about you. What is it, exactly, right now, in this moment? When you strip away the story, what's left is almost always manageable. A series of actions. A set of choices. A moment that can be faced. One breath at a time. Marcus called this the discipline of perception. And it's the first pillar of Stoic practice. But here's where it gets forbidden. Because this discipline doesn't just apply to big fears. It applies to everything. Your anger. Your grief. Your desire. Your pride. Every single emotion you feel is rooted in a judgment about reality. Change the judgment, and the emotion changes. Not because you're faking it. Not because you're lying to yourself. But because you've realigned yourself with what's actually true. You've stepped out of the story and into reality. The Stoics had a word for this. Fantasia. It means appearance or impression. When something happens, your mind immediately creates an impression of it. A mental image. A story. And that story feels real. It feels like the thing itself. But it's not. It's a representation. A sketch. A map, not the territory. And you have the power to examine that sketch and ask, is this accurate? Is this true? Or is this my fear speaking? Marcus trained himself to pause between the event and his reaction. In that pause, that sacred space between stimulus and response, he would ask, "What is this?" And in that question, fear would dissolve like morning mist under sunlight. Let's bring this into the modern world. You're scrolling through social media and you see someone living a life that looks perfect. Instantly, you feel inadequate. Why? Because your mind created a story. It said, they have what I don't. I'm falling behind. I'm not enough. I'll never catch up. But strip away the story. What actually happened? You saw an image on a screen. That's it. No failure. No inadequacy. Just pixels arranged in a pattern. The fear, the shame, the comparison, all of it lives in the story, not the event. The event is neutral. Your mind made it painful. Or imagine you're about to give a presentation and your hands are shaking. You tell yourself, I'm going to mess this up. Everyone will judge me. My career will suffer. I'll be exposed as a fraud. But what's actually happening? Your heart is beating faster. Your palms are sweating. That's it. Your body is preparing for action. Nothing has gone wrong yet. There is no failure yet. There is only this moment and your interpretation of it. Change the interpretation, and the fear becomes fuel. The shaking becomes energy. The nervousness becomes readiness. This is what Marcus did on the battlefield. When the enemy charged, when thousands of warriors screamed and rushed toward Roman lines, he didn't tell himself stories about death and defeat. He saw men running toward him. He saw the task at hand. He acted. And in that clarity, fear had no room to grow. It withered in the light of pure perception. But here's the part they never taught you. This rule doesn't make life easier. It makes it clearer. And clarity is often harder than comfort. Because once you see through your own stories, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to blaming the world for your fear. You become responsible. Fully, utterly responsible. For your mind. For your reactions. For the meaning you assign to everything that happens. And that responsibility is terrifying in its own right. Because it means there's no escape. No external savior. No one to fix you. Only you, standing in the ruins of your own illusions, deciding what to build next. Deciding who to become. Marcus knew this. He knew that philosophy isn't a blanket to hide under. It's a sword. And sometimes, you have to use that sword on yourself. Cut away the lies. The excuses. The stories that keep you small. And when you do, what's left isn't weakness. It's power. The power to face reality as it is, not as you wish it were. The power to act without the weight of imaginary disasters pressing on your shoulders. The power to live free, even in chains. Even when the world collapses around you. The Roman emperors before Marcus often turned to superstition when afraid. They consulted oracles who spoke in riddles. They made sacrifices to gods who never answered. They begged the universe for answers. Marcus did none of that. He turned inward. He wrote. He questioned. He stripped away meaning until only truth remained. And in that truth, he found something unshakable. Not happiness. Not peace. But strength. The kind of strength that doesn't flinch when the ground shifts beneath it. The kind that endures. This is the secret they kept from you. Not because it was locked in a vault. Not because it was written in code. But because it's too simple. Too direct. Too demanding. It asks you to stop running. Stop distracting yourself. Stop pretending that your fear is anything other than a story you keep telling. And once you stop, once you really stop and look, you'll see that most of what you feared never existed in the first place. It was smoke. Vapor. A ghost that haunted you only because you believed in it. So here's the rule. The forbidden rule Marcus used to crush fear. When something frightens you, ask, what is this thing, exactly, in itself, by its own nature? Strip away the legend. Remove the judgment. See it as it is. And then, only then, decide how to respond. Not from panic. Not from imagination. But from clarity. From truth. From the part of you that cannot be shaken because it stands on solid ground. From the part that knows reality and meets it face to face. This is not easy. It will not feel good at first. You'll resist it. Your mind will fight to keep its stories because stories are familiar. They're comfortable. even the painful ones. But Marcus didn't write his meditations for comfort. He wrote them for survival. And if you want to survive the chaos of this world, the noise, the fear, the endless uncertainty that comes with being human in turbulent times, you need the same weapon he had. The ability to see clearly. To think clearly. To act clearly. To move through the world without being moved by illusions. If this resonates with you, if you felt something shift while watching this, if a small light turned on in a dark corner of your mind, subscribe to this channel. Leave a like. Turn on notifications. Because we're going deeper. Into the practices. Into the texts. Into the parts of Stoicism that most people never reach. The parts that change you. The parts that forge you into something harder, clearer, truer. You don't conquer fear by avoiding it. You don't conquer it by fighting it. You conquer it by seeing it for what it is. A shadow. A story. A phantom that dissolves the moment you shine the light of truth on it. Marcus knew this 2,000 years ago, sitting in his tent on the edge of the empire, watching the stars and wondering if Rome would survive. And now, you know it too. Now you carry the same weapon he carried. Use it wisely.